Hello friends and followers. Well, I've spent an inordinate amount of time, way too much actually, working on this national power supply, the NCX-A power supply. Very, very simple power supply. At any rate, they had a pile of resistors here, which I hacked out. And as it turns out, those all worked. I'm not sure why I bothered hacking them out. And then I hacked out these capacitors, which I don't know why I bothered hacking them out, but anyway, all that was really wrong with this power supply was all these diodes were shorted out. So I put in new diodes and that fixed it really. I could have left the rest alone and the thing would be fine and working. So I rearranged lots of stuff. I found this capacitor here. This is one of those stand-up capacitors. I guess you can see it under there, sort of. Anyway, that was kind of loose. I guess somebody put it in a while back. So I soldered it to the chassis and fixed that. All these terminal strips here are kind of baked from the heat and shot. So I ordered new terminal strips, which I'll put into it in time. This is a bias supply here, and they had a capacitor in there, which I don't know if it's in the way, but I've been trying to simplify it in here. So this capacitor was like way over here, and it had a wire over here. I just put in some Chinese communist capacitors in here, and given that to the bias supply. I probably should have put this one back in and just kept it over there, but I didn't do that. So I've been trying to simplify this thing, and it is very simple. So what's left to do? I have two wires here. And these basically are the attachment points. So you want to have these resistors across the capacitors for balance, and then these are also dissipating power to lower the voltage, which is really, really messy. So I did order two 20-watt resistors. Each one's 20 watts. So this one will be 15K, this one's 15K, they're 20 watts. That'll be 40 watts across those resistors, which will be more than enough. And so National in their infinite wisdom left, little vents here to let the heat out. But what a waste of power. So I couldn't lower the voltage in this thing to have it not use resistors. I tried putting in a half-wave diode here, and it wouldn't have enough voltage to transmit. I tried putting in another full wave here using center tap, and that was equal to what the full bridge was, so that didn't work. Power supplies are frustrating for me. So anyway, last video I had a couple capacitors that were soldered on here, and I thought, you know what, this is a real mess. So I just put it back the way it was. These capacitors aren't even that great. They're supposed to be 80 microfarads. I think one's 50, 160. But I don't care anymore. These are like, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks a piece from Mouser. I just said, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I put the old ones back in, and I have these two wires that are waiting to go onto the new resistors that I've ordered here, and that should finish this thing up. Yeah, I've moved a bunch of wires around. The guy had this capacitor, or this resistor in here, which was good. This is like a 560 ohm. So that one is basically this one here that he added these together, which was smart. He simplified it. This resistor here is this one here, and this capacitor here is this one here, which is of course on top of the board. So that all straightens that out. This diode bridge here is basically this little mess over here, which is how they had it originally. I just put in new diodes. So I still have to construct this. I have the capacitors back in that were here, and those are here. And that's pretty much how they had it. I just got to get these, so I've ordered some 15Ks, 20 watts, and that ought to more than hold up, I think. And that's it. This thing will be done. So, and this is the bias supply over here. As I said, I did put a couple capacitors in there, so the bias supply is all pretty much self-contained there now. So I simplified it somewhat as far as wires running around and connections. I'm just gonna put in new terminal strips and put in the two resistors and see if that'll work, and see how it works in the Drake. I also finished up the Drake plug. I just figured it's wired correctly, and I stuck the cover back on it. I was going to put, the biggest mistake I made was I used what plug came with this thing, thinking, oh, I can cheap out and not buy a new plug. And that was great, but as you can see, all the pins aren't in this plug. So National just simply didn't put pins in it. And I should have had a full pinned plug. I would have put in a King circuit for a linear amplifier, but not enough pins. So I didn't do that. I was gonna have a linear key through here. The guy has this going out to a speaker here, so you can flick the switch and that speaker turns off and one out here turns on, which is fine. I would rather have that key a linear, but then I like having a foot switch with a linear too, so I figured this is all done. I'm just waiting for a couple of terminal strips and a couple of resistors, and we'll see how this thing turns out. All in all, it's been simplified. Yeah, these rivets here come loose, so that ground was loose. I got that soldered up. This was loose, that's all soldered up. I should probably solder this one since I'm relying on it for this capacitor here. It's a simple power supply. I'm not sure why they regulate voltage by dissipating so much heat. I guess that's how it has to be done. I don't know. I wish I could have found some new capacitors here on the cheap, but I didn't. I guess I could, if the thing hums, I could order some new ones. But it's back how it was, and that's good enough. I'm just gonna wait for diodes or resistors and put those in. Get rid of these, put some new ones in. I could probably still use these actually. Maybe I will. I'm just kind of done drilling things and screwing around. All right, that's my little update on the National NCX-A power supply. Very simple power supply that I've interfaced to a Drake TR4. There's the TR4 down there. I've not been doing much with it. I'm trying to get this room cleaned up. It's getting a little cleaner, but it's still a mess. I've been listening to people on the Collins receiver here today on 20 meters, which has been kind of fun. Very, very polite people on today. All right. Yep, that's about it. This stuff's for sale on eBay for a pretty high price, but it works perfectly. Maybe somebody will buy the whole thing and out it goes. I'm terrible because I buy these things, I fix them up, and I never end up using them. So that's the story of my life with amateur radio. This thing I'm gonna try and hang on to because it's bloody perfect. All right, thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.